is Michael Vanderpool. I'm talking today about the Hulda, that's H-U-L-D-A, Clark liver cleanse. The Hulda Clark liver flush, or liver cleansing, or liver flushing. If you used to see the Pure Zone forums on that specific topic, the liver flush, or liver flush, liver cleanse, I have a playlist of films going back to several years ago where I was sitting in front of a large tree on a farm in Missouri. Today's location where I'm filming is Borjomi Central Park in the country of Georgia. This is a mountain resort city. Behind me is the beautiful mountain stream, and obviously you can see I'm wearing sneakers. So this is all the way up there, about another hour, well, probably not exactly an hour walk at this point, but from the entrance of the park is the Czar Hot Sulfur Mineral Baths. And this Borjomi mineral waters are bottled and known around the world, especially the region. Also, there is warm spring well or fountain house there as you come into the park entrance. And just a very short distance at the end of the Crown Plaza Borjomi Hotel Complex on this side of the mountain stream, or what later is clearly a mountain river, is the cold Borjomi waters, where locals come up with a bottle or buy one of the plastic bottles there for like 50 tetri, which is the Georgian currency, like our, like a penny in the United States is called a cent. For 50 tetri, you can get a sizable 2 or 4 liter plastic bottle and get your fill with the cold Borjomi mineral water, which has a number of health benefits listed. And on that note, I'm going to show one more time up this way. And on that note, I'm going to make sure that it's clear. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't give medical advice. I don't diagnose or treat illness or disease. I want to say that. So when you read the park marquee or the history about Borjomi mineral waters, because I am here at Central Park in Borjomi, the mountain resort city in the country of Georgia, then you can read about how that they've got the exact minerals and the amounts of minerals and exactly what elements that they have talked about has been helped with that over the years. But again, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't diagnose, treat disease, illness, and I don't practice medicine. Okay, and I'm not an expert. What I am is someone that's done the liver flush, the Hulda Clark liver flush. Also, the Dr. Richard Schulze, that's S-H-U-L-Z-E, who I learned about through the Save Your Life video series. There were 12 videos in that series. And it was on European and especially Western herbalism as practiced and taught, as well as naturopathic, other hardcore naturopathic techniques by Dr. Richard Schulze, as he was being interviewed and published also by Sam Beiser, who was like the producer and the writer on the newsletters about it and helped with the making of the video on Dr. Schulze Save Your Life video series. So this is a newsletter that I used to get when I was attending Central Missouri State University. Sam Beiser had featured a number of unusual and rarely heard of more hardcore, more naturopathic and herbal techniques, including herbalism from the Native American Indians. I want to say I'm not from Iowa, by the way. I'm from Missouri. This came from Terra Nova up the street here into the capital city of this country I'm currently in at the moment, which is Tbilisi. And the Terra Nova is not only at East Point, the shopping mall, but it's next to or near the Marginishvili Metro, and this is all they had. I mean, they didn't have Missouri, but I'm from Missouri. I'm not from Iowa. So after making this clear, I'll continue with the Dr. Richard Schulze. Intestinal formula is what I use. Intestinal formula number 1 and number 2 before doing an initial liver flush, and sometimes before doing a second or a third liver flush, depending on the situation. So I had done that. Dr. Richard Schulze intestinal formula number 1. It's a 2-week protocol with that. The formula number 2 is a week protocol that starts after a week of using intestinal formula number 1. And I can say I've never done the Hulda Clark recipe or protocol for liver flush. I'm sorry, not liver flush, but intestinal or colon cleansing. Let me make that mistake and correct it now. I have done the Hulda Clark liver flush in one scenario, once every 2 weeks, and I believe that was for 6 months because I'd done it 12 times. So when you see my previous videos on the Hulda Clark liver flush and how I did the Hulda Clark liver flush or liver cleanse, the vast majority of those, almost all of those, are how I use the Hulda Clark protocol, the Hulda Clark recipe. The reason I'm making this video today is because I'm doing some things on my YouTube channel in terms of replying to questions that I have found that go back to these videos and the comments, and some people have asked questions from around the world. I have noticed that one of the questions was, what else did I do? And that's why I'm making the video today. So one of the things that I had done, of course, is the Dr. Richard Schultz style liver cleanse, and that is a 5-day cleanse that, like the Hulda Clark liver flush, it's actually, she recommends actually doing a kidney cleanse first, and then even before that, you know, like the colon cleansing is an important part of the Clark prep. Now, the anti-parasite tincture that she gives the recipe for, Dr. Richard Schultz had another version of the walnuts and the black goo versus the green walnuts and the hulls. Has been a bit of a debate on the internet in past years over which is more correct. I've made it using both, but especially the black goo out of the walnut hulls. I've actually made Dr. Hulda Clark or Hulda Clark's recipe for the anti-parasite 2 weeks herbal tincture that I take before the initial liver flush, the Hulda Clark liver cleanse. So I've taken walnuts that have had the black goo or even the green ones, and I've used both actually, but I've taken wormwood and cloves and made a tincture with pure grain alcohol and or vodka. Typically I've used vodka for making the anti-parasite tincture with the wormwood herb and the cloves herb, and then the actual goo from the walnuts, or an entire, let's say like a 1 gallon pickle jar, for example, that's empty, and collected the walnuts after they've got the black goo between the goo between the walnut, the hull of the walnut, and the actual shell of the nut itself, and use that to make a very dark, deep, and of course iodine-rich anti-parasite tincture. And then I've used that, you know, like say 3 or 4 drops, 3 to 5 times a day, you know, and 2 weeks before, or along with the intestinal formula, but definitely before, 2 weeks before the liver cleanse, especially the Hulda Clark style liver flush or liver cleanse. The main difference, there's several differences, but one of the main differences between Dr. Richard Schultz liver flush is it's a more gentle version of the liver cleanse. It is a 5-day routine that coincides with a vegetable and fruit juice fast or fasting. And whereas Dr. Hulda Clark's routine only involves fasting, I think either the night or the morning before. Here's an important thing that I've observed. I was here with my previous wife, Yulia, in this country, but in the capital city in 2005 or 2006. She was taking some birth control medicine. One of the side effects can be complications or problems with the liver, and they had told her that at the actual medical doctor's office, she went in and they actually did some sort of test or something, and told that she had some problem with the liver or gallstones. And I said, well, I know this routine. I've done this and I'm familiar with both the so-called emergency protocol for that, which involved a coffee enema, and more of a quick rush type of situation. Because this was an actual listed side effect of the actual birth control that she was on, and the medical doctors there confirmed it. So that seemed to help her, that protocol, that routine. I'm not going to go over that much because that was more on her. I simply introduced her to that as an alternative to what they offered back in 2005 or 2006 here in Tbilisi. I believe Dr. Richard Schultz does cover the coffee enema. As far as Hulda Clark's material or book on that, I don't remember. What I do know is this, and what I have observed or heard from others close to me that have done the same routine is this. If you are doing the Hulda Clark liver flush, and you are using the Epsom salts or in the water, you know, the magnesium sulfate, the Epsom salts in the water, which gives the flush, or you know, the flush effect, you know, like you're going to the toilet and it's like a rush of, you know, it's like a liquid. The flush is sort of taking its effect. I make magnesium oil now from Epsom salts, or magnesium sulfate, Epsom salts, equal part of that. Let's say, like, for example, a 4 ounce, let's say a half a cup of Epsom salt to a half a cup of, you know, simmering or boiling water that I've pulled off the heat, and then I mix them together and stir them off and on for about 10 minutes. Then I pour it into a glass bottle with a sprayer top. Sometimes I have to run the hot water through there or through the nozzle, take the nozzle off and run it through and put hot water in a bowl again, and then spray the hot water through it to cleanse it, because the Epsom salt itself, a white kind of salt, will come back in and maybe plug up the sprayer a little bit, or around the sprayer, or inside in the pump. So the way that I clean that is with hot water, and then trying to spray, or, you know, soak it or spray hot water through it again, and then I cap it back onto the glass bottle with the remaining magnesium oil. And the way that that's how I make the magnesium oil. And I put about 15 sprays on my back forearms or lower back or neck. And that can be once, twice a day, whatever. And again, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't give or dose or diagnose or treat illness or disease. I'm just making this video for information and entertainment purposes only. But I do make my own magnesium oil. And you will get a flush effect and maybe have to run to the toilet. But you'll definitely get a flush effect if you get too much magnesium in your system. There are products on magnesium there's one product called Calm, C-A-L-M. It's easily available and seen on eBay or Amazon, for example, but it's actually called Calm. And it's a powdered form of magnesium. Now, on the J.P. Sears video, he's an excellent comedian and also very serious kind of like psychologist of sorts, but his videos, he's got a new, something like 8-part magnesium product or something. So that's something that is new, and I haven't researched that yet. But J.P. Sears, S-E-A-R-S, has a new magnesium product that I'm interested in researching about. However, magnesium oil is generally very expensive, and of course there are shipping costs involved. And the reason I'm sharing about this part of it is because I've seen people try to do the Hulda Clark liver flush or liver cleanse, which is about a 24 to 48 hour process. Really, it's about a 24-hour process. But it can be quite emotionally or physically taxing. It depends on where you're at. It depends on the situation with your health, with your liver function, or how well. For example, this is the big key point. If you are deficient in magnesium, magnesium is a critically important vital mineral for the body, and we have to take it in through food or diet. Or in the case that I just mentioned, I also use a magnesium oil that I make. And there are a number of videos on how to make that on YouTube and various little variations. But what I just told you about making that is pretty much as simple as it gets. But I use about 15 sprays, forearms, chest, stomach, back, neck, whichever, and then I kind of rub that in, and then after 30 minutes you can take a shower or a bath, because it will leave a kind of a white powder on your skin or on your shirt or clothing. So that is something to note about that. However, if you know that it's working, or that it's real magnesium effect, the flush effect, because you can do 30 sprays, for example, or maybe even 35, which would be over what is recommended by most people that are doing this. And you will find that within an hour, 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, you will be going to the toilet with a flush effect. So in the liver flush, when you're taking magnesium sulfate or this Epsom salt, and you have about a tablespoon into the I think it's either 8 or 16 ounces in the glass mason jar or the jar, and you've got that in the refrigerator, for example, because it's easier to drink when it's chilled, when it's a bit cold, when it's chilled, as in the refrigerator. So Hulda Clark's protocol recommends that be ready before the flush with the chilled water, Epsom salt water, the magnesium, because when you drink that, that's when you start having the flush effect. See, you've already done the intestinal cleanse. I always use Dr. Richard Schultz intestinal formula number 1 and number 2. 2 weeks on number 1, the second week using number 2, which is 5 times a day, mason jar, let's say 4 or 8 ounces of the black powder, and then the equal amount of water. You shake it up and you drink it, and that is a 5 times a day intestinal formula number 2, which has midnight clay and charcoal and some other world-class, amazing, very powerful ingredients, which the bentonite clay, I think, alone absorbs something like, I don't know if it's 40 times its weight in fecal matter, or up to 3,000 known drug residues in the intestinal tract, including strontium 99, which is like a radioactive type of element. So, and then you're drinking like a glass of water after each one of those bentonite, psyllium husk, herbal. Dr. Schultz, intestinal formula number 2 drinks. So, to get back to the point, after you've done the intestinal cleanse, you're also doing an anti-parasite routine with that, an herbal anti-parasite routine for a full 2 weeks. Whether it's one that Schultz has got, whether it's one like I made mine on my own several times, and I've also ordered Dr. Clarkia. But for many, many years, I and my certain family members had used what we had made, or what I had made from the walnuts. We have a number of walnut trees out on one of the families, has it on one of the farms. And so it was much easier just to make a whole entire gallon or 2-gallon jar of it, and then have the wormwood and the cloves, and then use vodka to make the extract, and then put it in a dark place and shake it, once a day for 14 days. Dr. Schultz would teach, start on a new moon, strain it on a full moon, and whether you do it for 2 weeks or you shake it daily, keep it in a dark place for 3 months, and make it even stronger. In any case, I never had a problem using the 2-week or 3-month anti-parasite tincture with those basic ingredients. So Dr. Clarkia is a bottled product that I used also in place of that, and there's other products. But Dr. Hulda Clark is recommending that 2 weeks before the cleanse. Now, if you do not have enough magnesium, and I think it's like some sources state that 95 or up to 95% of the American people are deficient in magnesium, what will happen is what I saw happen, which is that you will try to do the flush, and then your body completely absorbs the magnesium. You do not get the flush effect. You end up doing the liver flush drink, which is basically olive oil, or maybe there's another acceptable oil. People would have to do their own research to find that out. But I always used olive oil, and there's Hulda Clark's liver flush or liver cleanse routine is with the recommended grapefruit juice, which some people like that, some people don't like that. And so there may be some alternative recipes or routines out there that replace the grapefruit. I'm not sure, but typically it was recommended to stay with the grapefruit because it's known and it works, and it separates with the olive oil and all that very well. And so we just, some sources would state that she actually, Dr. Hulda Clark, got this routine from the Native American Indians. What I can say is, again, Sam Beiser's newsletter and Sam Beiser's work, a lot of it, or a certain amount of it, did come from back to Native American herbalism. Native American Indians of what was before even the settling and the founding of the United States. So, regardless of the source, it's been used for a very, very long time. Now, so it's important to make sure, as part of the preparations, that you're not only following the Hulda Clark protocol for the liver cleanse or the liver flush by doing the anti-parasite tincture or the anti-parasite routine 2 weeks before the first liver flush, but also an intestinal cleanse or a colon cleanse. Like I said, I prefer Dr. Richard Schultz intestinal formula number 1 for 2 weeks, and the second week also using the intestinal formula number 2, which they were designed to be used together. I've always used that product in that way, in preparation for the first liver flush. That if I haven't done it for a while, that's what I do. And then I use Dr. Clarkia anti-parasite tincture routine. I have done Dr. Richard Schultz liver flush, but I found Dr. Hulda Clark's to be much more powerful, although strenuous, and but much more gratifying in terms of the effects after, although it can be a little bit stressful or draining if you're after you've done it a couple times, or if you've kept in good health, then it won't have such an effect. You definitely want to be sure that you are not deficient in magnesium. So there are magnesium supplements, there are foods with magnesium, there is magnesium oil, and because if you will do the flush and you are not getting the flush effect from the Epsom salt drink or the magnesium sulfate, which is intended to be part of the flush, it's to give you the flush effect, then you will end up, like one of my friends ended up getting sick and vomiting and getting very sick, because you can have the gallstones or the liver stones, so it is said, coming out of the gallbladder or the liver. But you're not passing that. You're not passing it with the flush effect that is needed. So you've got to be sure you're getting enough magnesium before the flush would be a good idea. And in the foods or supplements or even the oil, enough to the effect that you know you're not deficient in magnesium. This is one key and one thing that I observed. And another one is that, and this is answering the questions that people had about if I had any more information about preparing or preliminary preparations for doing the liver flush, other than what I told on the videos that I already have here in this playlist, or that I've already done, of course, which again are in the playlist, so that I've created. What other options in terms of preparing beforehand? There were people that used apple cider, like organic, preferably apple cider or apple juice for the malic acid. It is said that they soften the liver stones or the gallstones. Also, there is a Chinese herbal remedy that a Chinese pharmacist or chemist with a background in chemistry, I don't know if her name was Suzanne Lang. I don't know if her website's still up, but I think I talked about her in one of my previous videos on the liver flush, or Hulda Clark liver cleanse, which is at how I did the liver flush, or how I did the liver cleanse, which is at over 22,000 views on a video just like this, where I'm talking about this and my experience with that. Her product that she developed specifically for this, and helping herself with some health issues that were relieved by doing liver cleansing and and nurturing and building the liver. Her background in chemistry and as a pharmacist helped her to also be able to understand Chinese medicine, and so she had the product gold coin, as in a golden coin, gold coin grass. This Chinese herbal medicine, or this Chinese herbal tincture, she was selling out of a website in Canada. I don't know if it's still available. I haven't researched it in many years. However, I do know a family member that got the gold coin grass and also did the apple cider vinegar and drinking like I don't know if it was a gallon a day or every few days, but 2 weeks before to help in ideal either break down and or with the apple cider vinegar stuff to kind of soften the with the malic acid to the liver stones or the gallstones or whatever. Again, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't give medical advice. I am not an expert on this, but I am somebody that in a 6-month period did the liver cleanse, Hulda Clark style, 12 times. So that's once every 2 weeks for 6 straight months. And I've done it over the years, and I've got a video where I actually immediately take the results of the flush, and it has, I put it on a cardboard and I show it in the actual bathroom. And they are more than 77,000 views on that video because the results are quite dramatic. So there's arguments, I'm familiar with the arguments about whether they're real or not and all this and that and the other. What I can tell you is this, and I've told this story before, when I offered to take the results of the Hulda Clark style liver flush or liver cleanse into Dr. Karen Paprick, who is now retired, so I feel free to be able to talk about this. And I worked mostly, not always, but mostly with him in terms of taking our clients or referring our clients to him when I was administrative assistant over Vanderpool Care Incorporated, in which I professionally managed medical care. It was a nursing home, small residential care facility, level 1. Also managed and participated, helped with the pilot project, Fulton 55. I had 3 clients through the state of Missouri in participating in the Fulton 55 program, in which I was administrative assistant over Vanderpool Care Incorporated, and that's why I know a lot about the managing of staff and dealing with medicines and making sure the documentation is in there, reporting that to the doctors, the nurses, the psychologists, if there's one involved with a client or whatever, and having staff note if there were side effects, improvements, deterioration, and all these different types of things that you will do in nursing and managing a nursing home. So that's what I had done for about a handful of years there in Missouri, and licensed under both the 2 different state agencies. So one on aging and one on mental health. So I had a very good working relationship with this medical doctor, and I called him one time on the phone. I said, look, here's what I'm doing, here's the results. And he laughed and he said, that's impossible. We're taught in medical school that there's only 4 or 5 milliliter something from the liver, the gallbladder, or this or that or whatever. And he goes, it's impossible for that to happen. So here's what did happen. I accepted his laughter and his disbelief. And I said, well, look, I said, if I do this again and I pass these gallstones or liver stones after I do a Hulda Clark liver flush or liver cleanse, can I bring it out to the clinic and you order for a lab test to be done so we can test this and prove this once and for all? He said, yeah, sure. And he kind of like, that's not going to happen. But he said, yeah, sure, no problem. And he was like, yeah, you can do that, no problem. So here's what happened. I did another cleanse. Like I said, I did 12 and 6 months, 1 every 2 weeks. I got a mason jar with a lid. My family's farming family and gardening family, and I had a hell of a garden for years. Beautiful, excellent garden, 50 by 150 feet. Also next door to the nursing home, because I live next door to the nursing home, the RCF level 1, Missouri. So I took the mason jar, put a little water in there, and took a couple of these stones that I passed out there to the Missouri Valley Physicians lab, because I used to do that quite often too. If they needed a lab sample, if they ordered a lab sample from one of the clients, I'd either take the client out or I'd take the sample out, or one of my staff would. Typically it was me. That was my thing, usually. But one of us would do that, with or without the client. We'd take the lab sample out. Typically it was just us, or me. So I took it out there, the mason jar, and they were ready for me. They knew I was going to bring out something because the doctor approved it. And immediately when I shown the jar to the lab chief, the manager of the lab, I didn't say anything. She's like, oh my God, Michael, are you okay? Because I told her it was my lab sample, and she immediately knew what it was. It might have been Deb. It might have been Debbie. Deb Shell. But I'm not sure. But I think it might have been. But she's like immediately, she's like, Michael, are you okay? She knew what it was. Without me telling. And because that's what they do. They test these things at the lab. They're trained, they're educated. They know this is it's a way too common problem in America to go to the emergency room for gallbladder removal or gallbladder surgery because you're passing gallstones, one of the most painful things. It's all too common. So everybody in the medical, like on the front line of like emergency room doctors and the lab techs, especially the gal that managed the whole lab and the lab testing and all that, she knew. She told the doctor, and guess what happened? Dr. Paprick refused to have it tested. He refused. He refused to have it tested. He would not let me or them test it. He refused to test it. They wouldn't test it. But though we knew what it was, I knew what it was, it's in the literature, it's just identical to the various types of stones, the photos. Now, Amalux Herbal, A-M-A-L-U-X, is a good company to contact. They sell books on the practice of magical evocation by Franz Bardon and other great, fantastic works on Kabbalistic Angels Calculator, and their entire website is fantastic. I've communicated with them over the years. They have a European kidney cleanse or kidney stone dissolve routine that they will share with you. Amadeus. And it basically involves a brandy, and I don't know if it's like 16 ounces or 18 ounces, with juniper berries, but they need to be European and they need to be fresh juniper berries. Tinctured in brandy. I think it's for maybe 2 or 3 days, and you take like 1 ounce like every hour for 6 or I think 8 hours. And that's a lot of fun. It is. I laugh, but it is. It's a load of fun. Don't get carried away with it. And listen, I'm not an expert, but I'm somebody that has done these cleanses and done these kidney cleanse, kidney stone dissolve routine. My former wife, Teresa, is an absolutely beautiful woman. She was a top dancer before we married at the $1 Million Fantasy Ranch. Nude dancer, lap dancer, pole dancer. She was so beautiful, they put her on billboards advertising the club from Warrensburg all the way into Kansas City, Missouri. But she had a number of health problems. She had been on some pretty hard medication since she was like around 14 or 15 years old, and it really did devastating things to her liver. We know because when we went to get tested for the tuberculosis test that we have to have when you're working in a nursing care home, you have to have a TB test, or at least back then, tetanus shot, and you have to have the TB test to make sure you're not